one financial institution in all Kern County.
Take advantage of our low fixed mortgage rates, including 60-day lock-in at no cost to you. Purchase or refinance your home today.
Kern Schools, the biggest little credit union in town.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Renegade Report. I am Francis Mayer, Sports Information Director at Bakersfield College, and I'm also one of the planet's luckiest people. Why? Because I get to work in an athletic department with over 90 years of history. Some of the best student athletes you're ever going to find, many of them headed on to the professional ranks, whether it be as players or coaches or support personnel like myself. And I also get to work with some of the greatest coaches in community college athletics and athletics, period. We have coaches who definitely could go on to the next level, but they choose to be here at the junior college level because, Coach, you still get to teach players the game, don't you? Coach Richard Hughes of our men's basketball team.
Well, I do it at any level, middle school, high school, college, professional, and many things. You got to teach them the fundamentals. That's crucial.
Right. I'm going to move your microphone.
Sure.
There you go. Get that up to you. And the fundamentals are important to you. One thing that I have told many people about, and like I could see this being seen in Hoosiers, you keep a ledger in your head of turnovers.
Oh, you got to.
And what happens, Coach, if people exceed?
It depends on your team. I've had some teams where we turned it over but we played at a really high tempo, and it wasn't as important. But last couple of years, it's really been something we've emphasized just because we haven't had the team that could overcome lots of turnovers. So we definitely harp on that in practice. And hopefully it shows up in the games. It's gotten better for us. We have gotten better this year. So,
and when you talk about being a team that can't overcome turnovers, is that because we are not the most prolific scoring team?
Yeah, we don't score the ball well. And then with the exception of DeAndre, we're not long and athletic. We have a couple guys that are decent size. But when teams get in transition, like Antelope Valley for them, they've got 6'5", they got some 6'6" guys. They even got 6'2" guys with, elbows over the rim. When they get into transition, it's hard for us to stop, on those turnovers. So, we have to be really, stringent with the ball and not cough it up because it just leads to extra points for the other team.
And, Coach, according to Coach Chavez, I got a chance to speak to him last night. He said that there was like logs on a fire, that in the first half last night we had some turnovers that they were able to turn directly into gold. And I believe you call them steak dinners. But any way that you want to put it, we're bleeding there. And it was a tough situation at the end of the first half.
Well, there were some turnovers. There was also, we call bad shots. And we had some bad shots from the wrong people that led to long rebounds. And with them, they score primarily in transition. Second half, we did a much better job of not, giving up transition points. And that's why we were able to get back in the game. So, it's something that you have to check every day, and you have to keep emphasizing it all throughout the season because that's, going to be an Achilles heel with this team. But like I said, we have gotten better.
Well, let's take a look at some better days here. This is the game against Canyons, and this is some of my favorite play from these Renegades. You're going to see DeAndre here recover from a missed dunk, which...
Well, he just got in the game, so we brought him off the bench because he had the ankle injury. So first play of the game, he goes and dunks it, misses it, rebounds it, dunks it again. I'm like, okay, I think the ankle's healed. Even though, he's not 100% yet, but...
like a knife through butter.
Yeah, and then Meek is he's got an uncanny knack. He can go in there against, bigger guys and get in there and score, even though he's, 5'8", 5'7", 5'6", whatever you want to measure him at. There's one of our highlights that we give the other team. But, we really competed well against them, and we didn't turn the ball over that much. We had a opportunity with 22 seconds to go to take the lead, and we ran a play that we run all the time, and we just didn't execute it like we normally do. So I was proud of the guys in that game. They competed all the way to the end, and that's all you can ask for in coaching.
Right. And it seems like they've become, I don't want to say mentally stronger because they are plenty strong still being out there at this point, 22 weeks into the season. I think it's easy for the average fan to forget what a grind this season is. And that's a big change for them from high school, right?
Yeah, most of them aren't used to it. This is the first year we've had no bye. So our conference is 14 games, so we're on a 7-week grind, and right now we're, I believe, in week 4, something to that effect. And it's Monday practice, Tuesday practice, game. Thursday practice, Friday practice, game. Sunday we take off, to rest them. But, it's just nonstop. So, like today we had a tough road trip. We got to come in and practice and start preparing for Valley. So it's just something they need to get used to. It's what's expected at the, 4-year level, and that's, why they're here. They're in that transition point where they're learning what it takes to play at the next level.
Right. And speaking of the conference, how is it that we are not in the same conference as like Porterville and Fresno City? I know Fresno City is very tough, but it seems like we are in a tough conference.
Ours is always tough. This year happens to be probably one of the toughest since I've been in the Western State South. When I was at Hancock, I was in the Western State South. North, which is a big time difference. You just have all these Los Angeles schools that have tons of players, and it's tough. And it's I don't know those questions. I think our record would be better in the Central Valley Conference. We've had a lot of success against those teams, but when we recruit kids, we kind of emphasize that you're going to play in Los Angeles, which is a mecca for basketball. You're going to play against the best players from the best high schools that come out of and go to those different schools
For a third of the cost of living.
Well, yeah, and but it's great competition for them. It's great exposure, and you always want to play the best. It just happens that we're learning it right now that our conference is brutally tough, and we started out with a great preseason record, but it means nothing when you get into conference.
Well, it doesn't, and I feel like also that we've had some tough luck with injuries. Alex Daniels, you go back and you look at the statistics, he plays a critical role on our team. He chips in 10 points and has a big impact on the boards. And when that was missing, I think now going back and looking at the box scores, you can see the hole that was Alex Daniels. And it's good to have him back now.
Well, it can be good. It can be bad. Obviously it's bad for Alex because he gets out of, his routine and, kind of loses some confidence because he's hurt. But, for other guys like Sky C and DJ Woolley, they got some more minutes when he was out. And I think that helped us because they had some, very good games for us. So you can look at it both ways. That's what makes good teams is when guys go down, someone else steps up, and the best teams do that. And we haven't been able to, first half of the conference, just haven't been able to get over the hump. We've had very close games, and we're disappointed in our Glendale effort. That's the one game where we'll sit back in that first part of the conference and go, that was a game that we should not have lost. But it is what it is. So now we go and start 0-0. That's what we'll tell them today. We're 0-0, and we want to get to that third place, second place, something to that effect, so we can get above some teams and get in the playoffs. That's our main goal now.
Right, and that has to be the goal. And not to look forward too far, but you mentioned a name before I talk about the future. Sky C. Does he just look fast, or does that guy really get up and down the court quickly?
Oh, I call him the rabbit. He's just nonstop, up and down. He just plays hard, and that's what he brings to the table. He's very athletic. He can block some shots. He's been rebounding well the last few games, but his thing is all energy, and he just plays fast. Plays that way in practice, plays that way in the games, and just brings great energy to the game.
Now, I noticed with Rogers, is he battling an injury right now? Because it seems like the last 4 games have been different for him than the games prior.
No, he's healthy. When you get into the conference, scouting reports start to become a factor with other teams, and they try to take away, some of our advantages that we have, and they look at certain players and how they're going to play them. I mean, he's just had a little bit of a slump. But last night he played well. He had 8 rebounds last night for a guard. He had 4 or 5 assists last night. Didn't score real well for us, but I mean, he kind of just does steady things. He may not look great in the stat book, but he's sophomore and played well for us throughout the year. So we obviously going to stick with him.
Speaking of scouting reports, I've been a little frustrated with the referees, and it's hard for me not to be a fan. And hey, I get to be a fan. I don't have to be impartial. But I feel like DeAndre deserves a little bit of protection from the refs. I feel like people are just physically going after him and putting hips on him and stuff. Am I being oversensitive, Coach? Tell me if I'm being oversensitive.
No, I mean, I'm not tall. So, but, and a lot of the refs aren't tall.
Gotcha.
So I just don't think that they really understand, because like last night he got a foul call where he blocked the ball up top, but on the bottom they called the foul on the arm. But like in the NBA, they let that go. I mean, it's kind of, we get referees that are still high school referees. Some are 4-year level, NAI level, very few are Division I level refs. So they're learning too, and for to their credit, there aren't a lot of bigs out there, so they're used to seeing a lot of guards. So I think he gets some calls called on him on the other end where he blocks a shot, and then on the other end he gets beat around a lot, and they kind of let it go. So it's kind of the big man's complex. They got to deal with it, It's just they don't get any respect. But same thing for me. He's the short guy, and I always tell the refs, I say, "Come on, he's a short guy like you. You got to help him out." And they don't listen. So, but you just have to play through it.
Absolutely. And we do have a very international flavor on our team. We have Glamick, who's from France. We got a couple guys from New York. We got Bryant's from the South. He's from Texas, correct? And then you've got, we have the West Coast well represented. Talk a little bit about how New York is different. The basketball scene is different, right? Those guys, is a little bit of a different personality than we're used to on the West Coast?
Well, I always say they're God's gift to basketball in their minds. And the coaches and the players, I mean, they just have this confidence about them, not in a bad way. They're confident in their abilities, and they think New York is the best place for basketball. I can't argue with them. But, they're typically very tough-minded.
Celebrated
warriors,
scene, right?
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just something that they're brought up in the way that they play back in New York. But it's refreshing. And then you have our French player Greg, he's funny because he's just learning. Yeah, he's learning the American game, and which is, you would think it would be easy for him, but it's not. There are some differences in the way that they play and the way that they, officials call the game as well. So, it's fun having him though, because he just brings a different element, to the team.
He does, and he's like, I've always heard that French people, this is what you get for believing in stereotypes, but they're self-serious, and Glamick is not very self-serious. He's a funny guy. He likes to learn new things,
What was interesting is I asked him one time, and I said, do you like being out here? He said, "Coach, I love it. I love it. The people are so nice." He said, "French people are so rude and so unhappy." So it was kind of refreshing, People are so helpful here, they were not helpful back in France. So just interesting to hear, how our culture, relates to, France. So,
well, I'm glad we get a good report. You've heard it here on the Renegade Report. America is a nice place to live. Awesome. Coach Hughes, good luck. I know that you have your work cut out for you in the rest of conference play, but I think we have some really exciting pieces. I think we put on a good show at the Gil Bishop Sports Center, and if you want your kids to come out and see some great above the rim play and one of the Western States Conference most exciting players in Jameek Riviere, come out and check us out. On behalf of Bakersfield Athletics, I am Francis Mayer. This is the Renegade Report. Check out GoGades.com for all the latest news on BC Athletics. We'll be back next week, same time.